Good morning, everyone. Thank you all so much for coming. We're really glad to have you here. In case we haven't met, my name is Whitney Wilkinson, and I am one of two Oklahoma agritourism coordinators. If I haven't been out to your place yet, let me know. We'll come by and do a visit. And if I have, let's do it again. So just a few things. The restrooms are outside through these glass doors. There's silver doors out there. I guess the pipes burst, but we're just going to roll with it. So if you need to use the restroom at any time, they're out there. We have two sets of speakers this morning, and they're going to be talking about events on the farm. And I'll let them introduce themselves, but our first farm is Redbird Farm in Enid, and it's Kent and Becky Evatt. So welcome them.
Hey guys, can everybody hear me okay? All right, great. We just want to start off with saying what an honor it is to be here today. I know there's a lot of knowledge out here, and it's it's in a way intimidating because we don't know everything. We know that, but we just want to thank the agritourism department. We have something really special in this state that most states don't have, and if it wasn't for people like this, we wouldn't be here. And the Oklahoma Christmas Tree Association is another group, but we encourage you to reach out, and there's a lot of knowledge out there that people are willing to share.
So this is us. We have 4 cute little farm hands. I'm Becky, this is my husband Kent, and so this is how you're going to find us most of the time at our farm. Over here on the right, we have kind of limited time. Kent has a full-time job, and with kids, we get most of our stuff done in the dark, including like planning and things like that. So if you're ever up in Enid, you'll find us outside at night. It's just how we roll. We're on 14 acres up in Enid, which is northwest Oklahoma, and you can pretty much see the U-cut Christmas trees there, look pretty tiny, and we have that black lines are our U-pick blackberries, and then the white is the frost cover on our, hopefully, U-pick strawberries. That's new for us this year, and we're giving it a go. But the red barn there is where we hold different kinds of workshops and seasonal events, and we have lavender field, like a small one, and we always have a garden, so we're trying to utilize as much of that 14 acres as humanly possible. We also have a small petting zoo under the awnings there, and the front yard's the parking lot, so. And we're pretty new at this. We planted our first Christmas tree 7 years ago, and just opened our doors not even 2 years ago. So 4th of July will be our 2nd anniversary. So, we're babies at this, we're learning. But what we want to do today is just share with you, we fail a lot, but we learn a lot through that. But one of the things when Kent first said he wanted to do an agritourism venture was I had to establish a why, because, with 4 kids, a full-time job, I was like, why are we doing this again? This is going to be a lot of work. But, Kent grew up on a farm, and so we knew right away we wanted our kids to have a work ethic and have a job to do. And so that was pretty easy. But the second thing that I'm really passionate about is I see it in ourselves, and I see it, in our culture and society, is never in humanity have we been so disconnected from nature. For the thousands of years we've been humans on this planet, we're just kind of doing an about face these days about how we've lived our lives. And I mean by that, for instance, everybody has a screen in their face all the time. I saw a statistic the other day that said kids aged 8 to 18 these days are spending an average of 7.5 hours in front of a screen every day. That makes me sick to my stomach. And that was a pre-COVID statistic. So that's alarming. That's alarming. And then you see the correlations that go with screen time. And you see increased obesity rates, you see increased depression, and increased suicide rates. And, correlation isn't causation, but it's still, that's enough to take notice. And the other thing, I was reading a Joel Salatin book not too long ago, and it was talking about how to get that food from the field to your fork, these days it's an average of 1,500 miles. And you look back in the 1950s, 40s, that was less than 100 miles. And so, everything that's made us a human up until now, we're not doing that anymore. And so I'm very passionate about any way that we can engage the public in nature. I'm sold out. I'm all about it. And, I have a personal thing, like I see God in nature so vividly. And so every ounce of energy I have, every breath I have until I die, I'm going to be bringing people out for something. And so, that's kind of what we wanted to do today, is just show what we do on our farm to bring people out and engage them with nature and just have fun, and hopefully show you guys just some ideas and spark some interest in how you guys can do that too. Do you want to add anything?
Yeah, so I think our goal today is, we know that the screen time and the technology and all that, it's an addiction. So how do you compete with that? How do you get people out to your farm? And I think we get scared about that sometimes, but it's a lot easier than you think, because people have a natural need to connect with nature. This has been our history as human beings. So, you do these mundane things that you think nothing about, but you got to remember, the majority of the people out there don't live on a farm. These things that you do that you think nothing about, people will come out to your farm to participate in that. I mean, do you make compost for your garden? Maybe no big deal. People are into it. They don't know what you're doing. They don't understand it. And a great example of that is, if you go to our Google reviews and look at that, I was looking through there just to make sure, we're keeping people happy who come out. And I see pictures of our weeds, and I'm just horrified. And I think, why are they doing that? Well, a weed is pretty cool to them. They don't really see weeds like that, I guess. So I'm out there trying to wipe them all out, and they're highlighting them on the internet. So as we go through this, you may not want to just take what we're doing and verbatim do it, but just be thinking about, what can I do? I mean, maybe you don't have a lot of knowledge and you can just host something and use your farm as a venue, or maybe you do have knowledge, something that you're not even thinking that people would be interested in, and you don't have to be an expert. I mean, we're great at failing, but we're not afraid to fail.
Yeah, I just want to highlight that you don't have to be an expert. I have just a quick example. It's really embarrassing, but we're just going to go for it. All right, so I've always dibble-dabbled in chickens. When we lived in town, I had, 2 or 3. And so when we moved out to our land, I said, Kent, I want more chickens. And I have, a minivan at the time, and I loaded the dog kennel up there and got some towels all on the ground, and I went to my friend's house to pick up a couple more chickens that she had. Well, a couple more turned into 40, and to make matters worse, these chickens were like naked. They lost all their feathers, because when you change, I guess, their feed from organic to, the junk we were feeding them at the time, they lose their feathers, and I didn't know that. Well, to make matters worse, as soon as we get them home and put them in their makeshift, shack here, a hailstorm comes that night, and my kids run down the stairs the next morning, and their faces just plastered to the glass sliding door, and they're screaming, "The chickens are dead!" And these things, talons up, and I just think, I am the worst farm girl ever, and I go out there and shake them, and they're done, they're knocked out. And so it's a hot summer day, and you can click the next slide. It just gets worse. I'm 9 months pregnant at the time, so what am I thinking?
That ride was fun, by the way.
And, it's a hot day. Kent's not home. He's at work. And so I did the only thing a girl can do. I put him in the burn barrel. So I'm just, crying, emotional basket case, putting these things in the burn barrel and light that thing up. And so by the time Kent comes home, I'm just wailing, woe is me. I'm killed all the chickens. And my kids are just like flipping out. They're like, there's one right there. And we look over, and there's this black, crispy chicken just clucking around. And so it slowly hits me in the head like, I have literally murdered these chickens. They probably had hypothermia or a concussion, and I literally am the worst farm girl on the planet. And so, but we go from that horrific story, being a chicken murderer, to, we teach chicken workshops. So, I mean, you can take...
We did nurse Smokey back to health.
We did. Neosporin works on chickens. And so we got him going. And anyway, so...
You want to hold it?
Yeah. We just want to emphasize that you can take catastrophes or maybe something you're not great at and learn from it. And before you know it, you'll be hosting a workshop at your place. And it just... because literally, you think about people that might live in town, they might know nothing. And if you're just a couple steps ahead, it's very helpful. And we also bring in experts in things. So we have a local lady at our Atwoods in Enid that is deemed the chicken expert. So we asked her to come out and kind of partner with us and talk about things, because we're more free range and she's good with coops. But we've also, tell people about guineas and how they'll just decimate your tick problems, and that's been a really good thing for us to learn and share. And we butcher our own chickens now too, so we've come a long way. And that's a really neat skill that, if I can do it, anybody can do it. So we like to share that, it's not as intimidating as you think, and it's not as gross either. Here's another complete failure. I love to garden because I love... you think about a sunflower and it's got, like 200 seeds on it. So if you can just get one of those 200 seeds to grow, you're good. So I find a lot of grace in gardening, but not this time. So when we moved out to the house once again, I was like, Kent, can you help me? Can you go get some aged compost from over at the sale barn for me? And bless his heart, he did. And he came back, and by the time things started coming up, it was just the worst Frankenstein garden you've ever seen. Things just, gnarled together, and just looked completely weird. It was just weird. And from going through and trying to figure out what happened, we learned that the hay that the cows were eating had been sprayed with an herbicide, right? Grazon. Yeah. And even though they had, in their manure, it had aged, it didn't matter. That stuff affected my garden for a whole year. And so things like that, we can help people not make that mistake. Those are things that we have to look out for, maybe that we didn't have to. But now we've learned a few things, and we grow a lot of stuff out there. I love, like I said, seeds. I geek out about this kind of thing, but we're always growing herbs and flowers, because Oklahoma is such a great place to be. So much grows here, and I use all those things to decorate the barn really cheap for any kind of events or workshops we have, because that natural beauty really sets a great tone, and it smells good when you walk in there, and it's super cheap. So that's what we do. And the lavender too, that's been a fun thing to have. People really like lavender, I guess. Like he was saying, the compost, that's another thing. It's just really easy to teach people, like, you throw your banana peels and eggshells and it turns into soil that you can grow stuff with. And these are just easy things that we like to share that we're passionate about. Let's see here. Maybe you can get that to work, Kent. I have this problem. I think it's some kind of ions. I touch technology and it doesn't work. So it's a special talent. But yeah, recently we just had a Valentine's workshop out at the farm, and we used Canva to create, what is the word I'm looking for?
Social media.
Yeah, social
media.
Yeah, graphics, thank you. And that's really user-friendly, and I mean, like I said, I'm not techie, and it's just really a great thing. We advertise most all of our workshops via social media, and it draws them to sign up on our website, and we use a Shopify platform where it just makes it really easy to see how many spots are left and collect money, and it's been a really good thing. We didn't used to do things that way, so that has been a good move that Kent will talk about in a bit. But I think this picture, this is from last year, pre-COVID. Notice how everyone's more together, but we had different stations in our barn. We had a flower station where people could make their own arrangements. We had another station where people made herbal bath salts, and then we had a girl doing macarons where you could make your own combination, and she taught how you could make those. You can go ahead and go to the next one. Yeah, so people had a really good time, and it was just a fun time people could get together. And so obviously I know nothing about baking macarons, and I brought in different people. I had an essential oil expert come in for the herbal bath salts, and then I actually had a florist friend do the flowers. So we have a Mother's Day tea coming up, and that'll be in the barn as well. And it'll just be kind of a little fun tea party with lots of food, and we'll have a guest speaker and of course another flower arrangement because I love flowers. And sourdough workshop we had scheduled last year. That actually had to be canceled, but that's, one of those lost skills again that we're just trying to help bring back. And our canning workshop last year got canceled as well, but hopefully we can get those going again. Here's a workshop we hosted. I have a good friend that's from the Deep South in southern Mississippi, and so this was kind of like a southern hospitality workshop. So she came and she did this amazing brunch. Her husband cooked for us, and he has catering stuff, and we did just how to be a gracious host, and she's just a really great speaker. And the ladies did different table arrangements and of course the flower arrangement to go with it. So we just have a really good time, and we try and think outside the box, and I think, what are my friends good at? I can come in and help. Like I said, the flower workshops are a big thing for us just because I love to grow flowers. I think they're pretty easy to grow here. But we also use Bear Creek Farms over by Stillwater. She's a wholesale flower distributor, and she is great to work with, Becky. And that's a great way you can get some local flowers, and she brings in things from other places. And we just had the gamut of flowers on this one. We put out, there was no theme. We just put out anything and everything, and the ladies could come through, or gentlemen, but we usually have ladies. They have their mason jar, and we give them a pair of pruners. And at this workshop, it was a beautiful day. We sat up outside so everybody had adequate space. And they come through the barn and they pick any flowers they want, and we give them, the little flower food packet and some water. And then they go back and make arrangements. And we give them little tips on, how the florists say, you can make your arrangement. But I personally love like an undone look. So I always make it a point, like, you're the one looking at it. So you make it how you think it looks good. Forget the rules, you lean into it, find what you like. And the more you play with it, that's how you get comfortable and just forget perfection, So, like I said, who can't respond to that? These are zinnias and celosia, and I think we had some gomphrena in there. And these are things that thrive, and I can attest to this. Well, maybe not the zinnias, but they thrive in the heat, and it's okay if you forget to water them sometimes. That's why I love lavender so much. That's hands off. I don't do anything, and that's been great. So here's just another one of our flower workshops. My sister-in-law has a flower farm in by Pawnee, and so we had asked her to come teach a workshop, and so she brought her flowers and I had mine, and everybody always has such a good time. We do offer food and drinks. We've had to change that a bit with COVID, but I try and go all out on some food usually in the past because I want people to have, food makes everything better. Here's just some more pictures. When I look up, when I'm either speaking or I'm walking around, I'm usually the floater. I walk around and I just kind of help or pick up stuff. Everybody's always smiling and having a good time. There's lots of good conversations, and you can go ahead and go to the next one. And you can see it's just all ages that we open it up to. I usually do have to charge a decent price for these flower workshops. To gather those flowers from a wholesale outlet is kind of expensive, but that's why I like to grow my own as well. Yep, just some more. We like to do a theme usually, but it's always a good time. So we've had to also just learn how to pivot with COVID. We did a plant sale last March when we had to, we didn't really know what was going on. We couldn't have people out, and people could order on Shopify. I just put pictures of everything we had, potted plants or, tomato seedlings, whatever it might be. And then they could come and we did like a porch pickup, or they could pick it up at the barn, and I would set it out at a certain time. So just learning how to, go with the flow. We've tried a cake decorating workshop, and some of these have been great and some of them not so great, but we're willing to try. The girl that does the macarons, she's just a friend of mine that has a really amazing business, very talented girl. And so our barn is very primitive. It's not heated or cooled, and so we knew we wanted to have this particular workshop before it got really hot and the flies were out. But I guess it was a little too chilly because that buttercream didn't spread too well. But we all had a good time. It tasted great. Everybody went home with 2 cakes. And and we have an Easter workshop coming up where we're going to let people go gather some fresh eggs around back, and then we're going to let them dye some Easter eggs, and then we're going to go on an Easter egg hunt out in the trees. And so, that should be a good time, and pet some little animals. So we're always trying to kind of think, what can we do and stay within some guidelines. I'm going to let Kent talk about this because this is not my forte.
Yeah, so we made a decision a while back, probably before we were really could justify it financially, but we signed on to Shopify, and there are other options you can research, but when you're having people sign up for things or buy things, it turns out to be quite a bit of work because we do a lot of our advertising and announcements through Facebook, and it works. You can do that, and it's a good way to start out. But what people will do is reserve a spot or two for a workshop, and then it's up to you to write that down and reserve that spot. But you have people sharing that post, and people are reserving in the comments of another post, or they're messaging you, and it turns into something you've got to keep track of. And then you're holding these spots, and you've got to go collect the money from these people. And some people, they say they wanted it, but then they don't, and you get into all that. So we went to Shopify, and basically how that works is we set the number of seats that we're going to sell, and when they, they pay right there to reserve their spot, and when the spots are gone, it just shows sold out. The downside of that, Shopify costs, I think, $29 a month. So you've got to do some things to justify that cost. And then also, Shopify is going to take a percentage of the payment to process credit cards or PayPal or whatever. So you've got that to deal with. But something to keep in mind, and there may be better options out there, but this is working for us, and it saves us a lot of time. And right now, time is what we lack the most of. Yeah, a little bit about our berry picking. This is a lot of fun. People come out for berries, and so we did our first blackberry picking last year, and that'll just become hopefully more and more productive each year. And then we're also trying strawberries. We're going to see how that works out. I was talking to a strawberry expert yesterday about some mistakes I've already made, but you just got to get out there and do something. You're going to make mistakes. You can't do it perfectly, but I would just say don't be afraid of it. That's our oldest girl. She is a professional blackberry picker now, you can tell, and she's pretty smart. We charge an extra $1 a pound if they're pre-picked, so it works out great. I can tell Holly, if you go pick them, you get the $1. So off of a bucket like that, she's making $4, which is a pretty good gig for a little girl. And she's smart enough to get out there before the customers come, so it's easy. She can get it done in 15 minutes. So that's pretty good pay, really. The peach sale was our very first grand opening event, and we didn't know what to expect or how to advertise. These are some things that you're going to have to think of. So our primary advertisement is Facebook and social media, which is free, and it's great as long as, but we realize that, if we ever have some sort of different view than the Facebook controllers, we could be wiped out. I mean, that's a reality. So what we really would like is to have a list of email addresses, and we encourage people to sign up for our newsletter. And we try not to hound people with the newsletter, just make it pertinent information. And the problem is, getting people to sign up. It's work to gather those email addresses. So we try to make it worth their while, because when berries come on, they come on slow, and then there's a peak, and then they go down. So we don't Facebook announce our berry picking right away. We newsletter announce that. So that gives a little bit of an advantage to the newsletter people. We usually announce a workshop to the newsletter people first. So that's some kind of encouragement to gain something that we're in control of, and we're not at the mercy of Facebook or one of these others. And then other advertising we do is newspaper. It's costly though. So if we think we're going to sell out of something, we really don't use the newspaper, because, why advertise when it's going to cost you money and no gain. But we do have customers who get annoyed that they can't find out everything we're doing through the newspaper. And these are people who are not on Facebook. So we get to hear about some of that. It just comes with the territory. And then our favorite advertising is word of mouth. That is the best. So if we can give them a good time, they're going to tell their friends. And that's really, when we're thinking about inviting people to our farm, and you guys can think the same thing, we want them to have a good time. We want them to get their money's worth, and we just hope that they'll tell their friends. And so far, it's worked pretty well that way.
Yeah. So when we have an event, we try and just do it up. Really lean into that season or theme. So 4th of July, it's like an America explosion in there. I just try and do a lot of themed things, but you can go ahead and I sell just this and that. I sell anything from candles to soap to jams and jellies, fresh produce. We had a graphic designer that we teamed up with that helped us come up with a thing for our hometown graphic design there, and that's gone over really well. And then I've noticed anything that I have our hometown on, whether it's private labeled jams and jellies, popcorn, whatever, it does really well. So I would encourage you, just put that hometown on there. And and I've another thing, since we're so small, we have this small barn store that's open just when we have an event, very seasonally. And so I was very intimidated. How am I going to find the things that I want to have in my store? I'm so small, but I found that finding these wholesale distributors, if you just reach out and you just tell them your situation, we've had great success with people being willing to work with us. Like Johnny's Seeds, that's something that we sell online and in our store, and that's been great. But just anything, really anything. The minimums have been pretty low, and it's been not too bad. I'm gonna let Kent talk about the animals.
Yeah, so the petting zoo we don't charge anything for, but it's a real attractant to people, and I like animals anyways, especially now it's springtime, there's baby animals, and that just opens the door wide open for an Easter event, because who doesn't love baby lambs and all of this stuff. So it's been something that gives our kids responsibility and also gets people in the door. So yeah, if you have animals already, you may not think much of it, but yeah, let people come and feed them a little bit. One thing that we have learned that I will tell you about, we didn't charge people to feed the animals, and we just put, a bucket of feed out there with some little cups and said, yeah, go ahead and feed. Well, if you do that with no price, one person will feed the entire bucket. So, yeah, they will be throwing it everywhere. So we put a very low price. It's a quarter, and it's the honor system. And usually with that jar or whatever, we just donate that to a charity or whatever. But we, even if it's a small amount like that, that keeps people in check, and they'll get one or two, and that way you're not overfeeding your animals and you're not just wasting it or using it as confetti. So that would be a tip for you guys if you do a petting zoo.
Oh, and the insurance too.
Yeah, yeah, it does. You are gonna have to think about insurance. It costs extra. I'm sure all insurance plans are different. With us, our particular plan didn't cover it, and it costs quite a bit more to step up there. So you're gonna have to think about your risk. You know, if you have kids getting in with animals, that would be a little scary for me. So we have a gate, and they can reach through and feed.
And all our animals, we decided to go mini on everything because we think they're way cuter and it's just less intimidating to a small child. So I think that's been a great. We have they're called baby doll sheep or Southdown, and they're so cute. They look like they're smiling all the time. And we have miniature donkeys, and then we always have chickens running around. So
yeah, I would add, you know, our free-range chickens, they're around. And when people start feeding animals and they're dropping feed, then they're really around. And that is such a big deal to people. I think it adds to the atmosphere, but people aren't used to seeing animals loose, just walking wherever they want. And that's pretty big. I mean, and they're always there. So something to keep in mind for you.
One of the things we kind of stumbled upon, I wanted to have a fall event, and so we decided to name that Harvest Market, and we have vendors that come out, and we just try and make it just anything that you think of fall, we try and include. So, you know, it's a pumpkin explosion. There's just pumpkins everywhere. There's hay bales and corn stalks, and yeah, we just use anything that we're growing, bring in sunflowers, and for sale in the barn is just, like I said, anything fall, from pumpkin scented candles to, you know, pumpkin butter and apple butter, and just really lean into the smells and the essence of fall. So when you walk in, it's like, yes. Yeah, and we use a Katy family farm. We get some of their produce and bring in, because we can't grow everything. And we've just had a lot of fun learning about other farms in the area that we can team up with and help make an event happen. It's a bit of a scramble, but man, it's fun. Yeah, we don't grow the pumpkins. I'd love to maybe get into that, but we're trying to ease into things. I don't want to run Kent off. We had a food truck come in, and that was great too. We're learning a lot of those laws and regulations. Our food truck actually canceled on us last minute this past year, and Kent, he sprinted over to the health department and got all his stuff in order, and he had just bought this Amish ice cream maker, and he just couldn't wait to try it out. So we tried that out for the first time, and I've never seen the man move so fast in my life. I mean, people wanted their homemade ice cream. That went over pretty well. Like I said, if you can get something private labeled with your logo or even your hometown, that has been, a really good thing. We use Oklahoma Gourmet Popcorn out of here in the city. They have a place in, I think, Moore and in Edmond, and they are awesome people to work with an awesome product and great prices. So, and they'll send you, and the bonus thing, you get little samples of every flavor they have, and so it's a lot of fun. But that's someone we partner with, and like I said, we sell anything from, handmade soaps that we get from a wholesaler. I tried my hand at making soap, and it was not pretty. So, and we have some jams and jellies private labeled, and we're just willing to kind of try anything that's good quality. This is our main thing that we've worked the hardest at, is these you-cut Christmas trees. And it's a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun, and it smells good out there a lot. So if you're interested in Christmas trees, the Oklahoma Christmas Tree Association is a great group of people and just so much knowledge out there everybody's willing to share. So I encourage you to look into that if your area doesn't have one. And you can see the wreath decorating. We're always trying to try something, see what people respond to. We sell some ornaments in the shop at Christmas time. We've given away free hot chocolate in the past. We didn't really do that this year, but we try and have our cute little helpers in there. And I'm always making some kind of t-shirt. So once again, with our farm name on there and the customer service, we try and make top notch as well for that word of mouth and just make people happy. Yeah, we just really try and make it the feeling of, people want that feeling of Christmas. And, it's so easy to do with nature. I mean, how beautiful just to put some trees in your place and just to help decorate things. And yeah, with social media, we just try and post pictures of relevant things going on at the farm and just keep people in the loop. And we try not to, I get so mad about the Facebook algorithms you try and keep up with. You're trying to post every day at the same time so you can get, I just gave up on that a long time ago and think there's so much noise in the world. I'm just going to show something when we've got something going on, and it's worked pretty well. I think most people maybe appreciate not being yelled at every day with like things that don't matter. So we're getting into doing more field trips. I love teaching kids about, growing things and let them know, hey, the world of nature is a lot more interesting than the world of screen time. You can grow your own food and you can do this, and it just to empower those children, and they light up. They're all about it. I mean, they're excited to be there and see anything. We had a class come out this year and get a Christmas tree at the farm, and those kids just have such a good time. I mean, that's worth it in itself. So, like I said, we try a lot of things that don't work as well. Just learning your area. The colored Christmas trees that you paint did not fly in Enid. We didn't sell one. Kent came out with pink boots from spraying his boots. And so, just learning your area and what people kind of respond to. We have a recycling program for trees. After people are done at Christmas, they can drop them off and we use them. We turn them into mulch because that's what the driveway, the parking lot area that people drive on, we have mulch, and we just try some things out. And yeah, that's our littlest one, Cy, and I'm surprised he was sitting still, that kid. But photographers is another thing we're getting into, and inviting them to come out to the farm and hold sessions out there. So that's something we're going to be trying to lean more into, because I guess a lot of people take pictures. So you want to add anything to that?
The only thing I would add is, don't be afraid to get out there and, you just invite people to come, and I think they'll come. Just think about the things that you're doing and try to give somebody a good value when they come out. Give it a try, and don't be afraid to fail. Does anybody have any questions?
I think we're going to hold questions.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you guys so much. You did a great job. After we have our next presenter, we'll bring them all four back and they'll answer questions as a group. So our next speakers are from Norman, Oklahoma. Jesse and Katy Wells. I think Katy's going to take the lead, but Jesse's there to help her out. They're from Wells Family Christmas Tree Farm. So everyone give them a great big welcome.
Okay, well, good morning, everyone. Thank you, Kent and Becky. You guys did great, and I have major barn envy. I always have. I love you guys. Y'all set up, and we can't grow anything but trees, but you inspired me a lot, so that is a success. That was great. Thank you. So I'm Katy Wells. This is my husband, Jesse. We have Wells Family Christmas Tree Farm in Norman. This is our, you can go ahead and click. This is our fourth year. 2020 was our fourth season to sell. We planted, that's our son. So this is a very old picture. This was from 2016. Our son is now 16 and towers over both of us, so he's much bigger than that. We planted our first trees in 2016, and it was never our intention to be Christmas tree farmers. We bought our land. We wanted to live on a couple of acres and mow the grass. We tried a little garden at our house in the city or in town. We killed everything. We can't grow a thing except weeds, and we just wanted to mow it. So we wanted a couple acres, so we bought 12. And I wanted a big live Christmas tree for our first Christmas there. So we went out to a tree farm that was just a couple miles from our house. I didn't even know tree farms existed. I don't know where I thought that live Christmas trees came from. So we went down to this farm, and my husband and my son were cutting the tree down, and it was a very small family operation, nothing else going on, just people cutting down trees. And I just had this thought, like, we could do this. And it was one of those thoughts where you think that somebody behind you said that because it just came out of nowhere. And so I just remember thinking, oh, well, that's ridiculous, and didn't even say it to Jesse, just let it go. And then on the way home, we were in the car maybe 30 seconds. And my husband looked over and said, we could do that. And I just thought, oh my gosh. And so I got home and Googled Oklahoma Christmas trees, and the Oklahoma Christmas Tree Association popped up. It existed. I paid a membership to join, and a month later, we were at the Horticulture Industry Show in Tulsa, which is a gigantic conference, and we walked in with all these other Christmas tree growers who have been doing it now for 40 years and up. And we were very intimidated. They told us we were crazy for getting into this and that we shouldn't do it, but they are some of the closest friends that we have today. It's been a really, really awesome community. So just a brief history on how we got started. So we planted our first trees in 2016. And again, we just had to get out there too. We planted 150 trees, and how many lived? Maybe
80.
Maybe 80. So we killed a lot of them, but you just have to try. And we decided to go ahead. We were going to wait to open until our trees were ready to be cut, which we assumed would be anywhere from 5 to 7 years. And then my husband decided, let's just go ahead and open with just pre-cut trees that we bring in from Michigan and Oregon. So that's the things that we can't grow very well here. So we grow Virginia pines, just Virginia pines on our land. And so we bring in the Fraser firs, the Douglas firs, the spruces, things like that. So that year for 2017, we brought in 400 trees. Again, we had no idea. There were 2 other Christmas tree farms within 5 miles of us, so we had no idea how we were going to do. So we brought in 400 trees, and we sold out in 3 weeks. And so to sell out for us, that was a huge success. We just wanted to sell out before Christmas Day, and we did, so that was great. One of the things that I thought of when we have Christmas trees is, while we're processing the tree, there's a lot to be done. You drill the hole in the bottom of the tree. Most people need a stand, and so you explain the stands to them. You have to give the tree a fresh cut. You shake it, then you put it through the baler to put the nail or the netting around it. So there's some things to do to process that tree. And so I thought, what can we offer people while they're waiting, so they're not standing there staring at us, tapping their foot? Kids are going crazy. It's cold. They're getting irritated. These are just kind of the things that I was thinking, and what can we offer them? So we came up with hot chocolate. And we decided to sell hot chocolate and coffee for $1. And then that kind of morphed into pumpkin cookies that I make, and we sell those pumpkin cookies. And of course, it's just morphed into lots of other things over the years. But we had cornhole, we added ping pong. A couple years ago, we added tetherball, which is super easy to do and super cheap, and kids love it. The adults love it too. We were actually watching Napoleon Dynamite and said, oh, we need a tetherball. It's just a super easy thing to do, and it stays packed. I mean, kids will stay over there for hours and play tetherball. So one of the other things we wanted to add was music. My vision for the aesthetic, what it was going to look like in our little tree lot. I wanted it to look like a Hallmark movie. And so I really wanted to be open at night, past dark. Jesse didn't want to so much, and now I know why, and we changed that. But I really wanted the idea of the lit Christmas tree lot, and so we added music. We started winter nights on Friday nights. Now we do it on Saturday nights, but we just had local musicians. We really started with people from our worship team at church. We begged them, please come sing. Sing Christmas carols or, whatever. You don't need all your instruments. It can be acoustic. Maybe we'll try to get you a microphone. I mean, we just had nothing. We absolutely had nothing. And so we started out with live music on Friday nights from 7 to 8:30. We quickly learned that, at that time of year, the sun goes down around 5:30. So it was really dark. They couldn't see their instruments and their fingers were freezing because it was so cold and they couldn't play their instruments. So we upped the time to 6:30 to 7:30. The following year that we were open, we decided to close down at 6. So now we just close the farm down at 6. That's plenty of time. Really, nobody's coming out after that. So again, we just had to throw it out there and kind of iron out the wrinkles as we went. Okay. So our first event outside of the Christmas tree farm was goat yoga, and I was super excited about this. It was July of 2018. We offered 2 classes with 25 people in each class. We sold tickets for $25 and both sessions sold out like that. We use Eventbrite for our events to sell tickets. It was a really fun event. We had a great time. Everyone loved it. We received a ton of publicity over it, but we lost a ton of money on it. It was really expensive. We don't have goats. We had to rent the goats. They came from a long way. They came from Piedmont, and everybody was really nice. They brought their own enclosure. It was great. It was safe. They took really good care of their goats. They were great, but it was really expensive, and so we lost a lot of money on that. So that was the last goat yoga that we have done thus far. So hang up a bed sheet and invite a few friends over. That was a quote. That was what my mom said in the fall of 2018. And can you go back?
Yeah,
That's okay. So my mom said, hey, you guys should show a movie outside. Hang up a sheet, no big deal. We're like, okay. So I created a Facebook event just to, officially invite and I invited our friends, not really knowing, how the algorithms worked and what was going to happen when they started posting about it and sharing it. It was free. So within a week, the event had reached over 100,000 people, and over 7,000 people responded they were interested or they were coming. So we started to panic big time. The cool thing about advertising on Facebook is that you can track that stuff. It's cheap because it's free, but you can also go to the insights, and my husband knows a lot more about this, but you can track, if you want to boost a post, pay, which is still very cheap, you can decide who you want, what demographic is going to see that. If you want it to, if you're going to have a flower workshop and you can target it to women in your area, in the certain radius and this certain age. So it was really cool to be able to see that, where our posts are reaching, how many people are clicking on the ticket link, even if they're not buying a ticket, if they're sharing it, if they're interacting with it in some way, if they're commenting on it. So it's kind of neat to see that. So we really started to panic because we thought, oh my gosh, 7,000 people are going to show up. And so we started getting help with parking and traffic. We live at the bottom of a hill, and it's a pretty kind of a busy street. So we were really worried about people, if the cars started to back up trying to get into our property. So we hired a couple of sheriffs to park at each top of the hill on each side to slow traffic down, and it worked very, very well. And then we also hired or really begged friends and family to come help parking. Parking, what we like to do for these kind of events is we have someone at the gate directing them, and then we have someone putting them in a specific spot, because it never fails. If you just tell people to go park, one car will park and another one next to them will take up 4 spots. I mean, they're just not thinking, and I've been guilty of that too. They're just not thinking in that frame of mind. So it's a big deal for us at any event that we have. We will have them, if they're going to park and be there for a couple of hours, to put them in a specific spot. and it's really, really helpful. We really just jam them in that way. We added some food trucks because like Becky said, you need food and it makes everything. And we went from the bed sheet to a it's a 23-foot diagonal, or it's 23 feet across, inflatable movie screen. So it's 15 foot high. It's huge. We just rented a huge inflatable movie screen. And the great thing about that too is the company came and set it up for us, and then they broke it down, so we didn't have to worry about any of that. We were also advised by the director of Norman Parks and Recreation, because they show movies in the park every year, to buy the rights to the movie. So it was $400 to buy the rights to show the movie, but if we were caught showing it, it would have been a $10,000 fine. So for us, the $400, it was a lot of money, but it was worth the peace of mind to do that. Okay, so those are just some pictures of the movie night. We encourage people to bring their animals. We just ask they keep them on a leash and clean up after them. So you can see the movie screen there. The little camper on this picture on the left is where we sell refreshments out of. We have a little stage too. We call it the Merry Mercantile. So the food trucks are usually right here along the road, and they bring chairs, they bring blankets, they'll snuggle up in sleeping bags, like right here. This family right here, this mother and son, they've come to all 3 of our movie nights, and they make a t-shirt, like a special t-shirt. We show Christmas Vacation. That was our first, and that's our most popular movie. We show it in November, and so they make sure they come every year and they make matching special t-shirts for it. Like, it's a big deal for them. On the next slide, we also got to do a surprise wedding. These were 2 of our friends that got engaged on that day, and then they came down, and my husband's an ordained minister, and so they asked him to marry them. So that was really cool. Her bouquet, we went and cut the top off of a Christmas tree, and that was her bouquet, and tied a blue ribbon around it. I don't know if you can play it. It was a video. If not, it's okay. Yeah, there it is.
He placed the ring on his finger.
Nice and tight.
By the power vested in me by the state of Oklahoma, I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss the bride.
So we sold 250 tickets for that movie night, so nobody knew. We
With
didn't know
this
they were
ring,
gonna do
I think
that. They really didn't know they were going to do that, and nobody in the audience knew they were going to do that, so it was really cool for them to do that. And they come back every year, and we make sure and point them out, and anybody raise their hand if you saw them get married, and they show some people that were there, and so that's a cool thing. So we added Goonies. That's one of our movie in October. It doesn't do as well as Christmas Vacation, but it does okay. So we started selling tickets. We did start selling the tickets because of all those expenses, the traffic, the parking, hiring the staff, buying the rides. And so we started doing $5 a person, and nobody has ever bought at that price. Everybody's fine with it. Kids 3 and under are free. We don't charge for them. And we use Eventbrite for that. Every year our ticket sales have increased. Christmas Vacation is our most popular, and in 2020 we sold 400 tickets for Christmas Vacation. So COVID had no effect on our business at all last year. I think it actually doubled everything. We did do a spring movie. We showed Smokey and the Bandit one year in April, and that was fun. We had some cars come out, but hardly anybody came out. So that one was, just another thing that we tried, and it was kind of a buzz. We still had a good time, but we just moved on. So the next event that we added was Christmas Market at the Farm. Last year was our first one, and this I wanted to be a local vendor fair, but I also wanted to have it kind of benefit animals in some way. I like animals better than most people, so I love animals. My dad's a veterinarian. I've grown up rescuing animals, so I really wanted it to benefit the local rescues and those kind of organizations in our area. And so vendors to do really well. So I just kept it small. I was very picky about, and I'm still very picky about the vendors. I don't have a lot of duplicates, hardly any duplicates at all, and no multi-level marketing. It's got to be handmade, locally made, not mass produced. So I'm pretty picky about that. And then it was also the grand opening of our gift shop, so we were really excited about that too. The vendors loved it, said they would come back the next year. This was for 2019. 3 dogs got adopted, so I called that a success. That made me very happy. And tickets were $5 a person, and a portion of those admission fees we donated to a local animal resource organization that one of my friends started. Okay. So for 2020, we increased the vendor size to 30. We also put them in a different part of the farm. So we gave up some of our parking because we wanted to add the vendors. We kind of had it like a midway style. So we kind of had them in a U shape around, and then we had some in the middle. We planned to have the puppy yoga again, but the rescue, the day before, the dogs that they came with were very large and very hyper, and they were not going to be yoga friendly. So I had to cancel that night before, and I was terrified. I was terrified of really making people upset. I was terrified that somebody was just going to blow us up on Facebook about it. But the good thing about Eventbrite is I only had to click one button to cancel it. It automatically refunded everyone, and it automatically sent an email out to everyone. I didn't even have to do that. I did go back and individually send emails apologizing and explaining what had happened. It was only 25 people, but it was at 7:30 the night before when we had to make this decision. So I was really afraid that 25 people were going to show up and there's no puppy yoga, and then you have 25 really angry people. Only one person showed up, and it was a lady that just doesn't check her email that often. Everybody else got the word. It was not a big deal at all, and Eventbrite made it very easy to take care of that. The local rescue still came out, and they held an adoption event, and we had rented a big 20 by 30 tent for them so they could have some shade. The year before, even though that market was in October of 2019, it was like 80 degrees that day. It was really hot. So this year we had it in 2020, we had it in September, and I rented them a big tent so they could be under some shade and that the animals would be taken care of. And then they were able to use the little fenced-in yoga area to run around and play, and the kids loved that. All the dogs had these little vests on them that said "Adopt Me," and they would let them walk them around all over the farm, and it was a really cool thing. And we added more food trucks this year. We had, again, we had no idea how many people would show up, and it was insane. From 10 o'clock in the morning to 4 o'clock that night, we had over 1,000 people come through. The weather was gorgeous, thank God. 7 dogs were adopted. That was huge. Tickets were $5 a person, and we were able to donate again to that same local resource, but we almost doubled the donation that we were able to give them last year, so that was very exciting. Okay. So the market events that we added this year, we had live music. We had a demonstration from the Tornado Alley Disc Dogs. That was really cool. The kids loved that. We had Toby Rowland come and sign his book. We started carrying his children's book, Unhitch the Wagon, in our gift shop. So he came out. He's a customer of ours. And so he came out and he did a book signing, and that brought a lot of people. And then we had the cornhole and the tetherball and the live music. I already said that. Do what? That was the tree farm.
Never mind.
Getting there.
So I'm just clicking.
And you're doing a great job. So these are some pictures from the market. So we hired out social media, and we've had some bad experiences with hiring out help for social media. We finally kind of hit a jackpot where we are, but it's cost about a jackpot for it. But it will take me an hour to make a post. It's not in my wheelhouse. I can't do it. I don't want to mess with it. So she's been great. So these are some of the social media pictures that she posted. That top picture in the your left-hand corner is my mom. Bless her heart. She had been like quarantining pretty hardcore for like 6 months. And so she came out and she just shopped till she dropped. She felt safe outside. We tried to social distance the vendors as much as we could. They were fine with, we tried to have a couple of feet in between them. They were fine with the setup. There was plenty of room to social distance as people were walking around. We didn't hear any concerns about, there not being enough room or people feeling unsafe. So these are just some of the pictures of the vendors that we had, kind of what our vendor setup looked like. They get a 10 by 10 area. Most of them, we encourage them to bring a tent for shade, and they can do whatever they want in that 10 by 10 area. We don't care what it looks like. And then, let's see, our neighbors came over with their son on their horse. And they just walked him over and walked him around, so that was kind of a big hit. So, okay.
Here we go.
Okay. So we also have events during tree season. We open to sell trees on Black Friday, the day after Thanksgiving. And so within that tree season, we have created some events. Pictures with Santa is a big hit. We've generally done that the first Saturday in December. And last year, we asked a Santa to come out. He doesn't charge a rate. We did pay him, but he gets whatever he makes and he donates it. So he had a lot of fun. And it was really cool pre-COVID. Because if he had some downtime, he didn't just sit. He was not just like a mall Santa. He would walk around the tree farm. He'd pop out behind a tree with kids. He was photo bombing if a family was taking pictures. He was photo bombing behind him. He was really active, and we really like that. We also have food trucks, and we've developed some amazing relationships with these people. And being new too, a lot of food trucks want a big minimum. We can't afford that. To this day, we still can't afford. We can't guarantee a minimum. We have no idea how many people are going to show up to some events. And we're just honest with them. We'd love for you to come out. We don't want any of your money. We're not taking from you at all, but we can't guarantee. And we can't pay you a minimum, and we can't cover, if you don't make your minimum. And so we've been able to develop great relationships. And so we have these kind of our standard food trucks that they want to be at our events. I just announced a couple of days ago the dates for our next market for 2021, and one of the vendors, the food trucks, immediately contacted me and said, I'll be there. I want to be there. So that's awesome. So we had the Santa Picks. We went in with a different organization. We had a realty group that contacted us and said, hey, we want to have Santa Picks for our customers. Can we do it out at your farm? Can we partner with you? So that was nice. We got to partner with them. They also opened it up to our customers. And then, so they had a professional photographer, and then that photographer emailed all of the images over the next few days to them. And the Santa was great. They did a great job. And that's us down there with them. And there's my big child now in the yellow. And then they also had a few vendors that came out. If we have vendors out for that, during our tree season, I'm fine with that, but we have very little room. So I can't do 30 of the vendors, but I like that idea. It might be something that, adding a few vendors during tree season that I might start doing. Okay. We also had a DIY workshop out there during tree season. This was a huge hit, and most of her customers just came. They kind of follow her around, but she also made it to where anybody that just happened to be at the farm that day could stop in, because she was out there almost all day, and that they could choose a project to do. So she offers several different of these wood and stain. Her business is called Hammer and Stain, and so you can also get your own kit and take it home and do it whenever you want. So I'm definitely going to have her out there some more. And word of mouth, her customers that came out for her workshop, they didn't know about us. They didn't know we existed, but because they came out for her workshop, now they do. Even if they don't ever want to buy a real tree, they'll probably have friends that do, and so they can tell their friends, oh, I was out for this workshop and it looked great. It was really cool. You should go try them out if you want to get a real tree. So that's where word of mouth. And really that's our purpose behind these events. We have so many people that come out all the time and say, I've driven by your house for the last 5 years and I didn't even know you were here, even though we have a sign out there. And we encourage people to come out to the farm when we're open. Even if you don't want to buy a tree, just come hang out with us. We have a ton of stuff going on. We have a ton to do. And so if we want them to feel welcome, we want them to feel like we don't want them to feel like they're on a conveyor belt. Just get your tree and get out of here. Get your tree and get out of here. We want them to spend time with us. And my favorite thing, and Becky touched on this too, is during tree season looking around and seeing no one has their face in their phone. They might be taking pictures, but they're taking pictures of their kids playing. Or, you know, dads and moms are playing each other on ping pong and the kids are, you know, cheering them on. Like that stuff, it makes me cry. It's the coolest thing. Nobody's on their phone. And people, and the average time that they spend out on our farm is probably 2 hours to just get a tree. We just have so much going on, and we love that. That's what we want. So we had, for the tree farm, we had a magician come out. This is another new thing, and I'm going to have him come out to the market. And he was awesome, and he does a trick right here. It might be kind of hard for you to see, but...
Can you see that one?
Yeah.
Okay, now, the card that you're thinking of, there's no way that it could be this top card, because you said somewhere, you know, in the middle. Yours is somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
Name your card out loud. Go ahead.
Oh my gosh! He was awesome. So I know it's hard to see, but he was walking around. He had card tricks, and he would just have this crowd of people around him. With little kids, he did the tricks with the little red foam balls. And if you're behind him, you can see him holding them behind their back. But the kids were just blown away. And he was going to come out for a couple of hours. I think he stayed for like 5 hours, and he loved it. He had a blast. So we're going to have him back, and he's going to do an actual big show on our stage for the market. Okay. So the last thing we also have are private events. We don't have an indoor venue yet. We're hoping for that soon. But out there we have held birthday parties, Christmas or holiday parties, of course the photography sessions, and we're open all year round for photography. We're actually encouraging people. Now is the time for Easter pictures. If you want Mother's Day, graduation pictures, it doesn't have to be pictures in the tree. Or in the Christmas trees, we give them access to the whole 12 acres. And then obviously the movie nights, and we've done a wedding out there, and then we've also had surprise engagement. I guess all engagements are kind of surprises, but anyway. So these are things that we continue to do kind of all year round outside of our events, and looking forward to doing more. And I think that's it. Just make sure that. Oh. Sorry. I survived 43 years without ever having to do a presentation like this, so I broke my streak today, and I'll probably never do it again. So we learned from our mistakes. The biggest things that we've learned, that staff and volunteers are everything. It's better to have more help than you need than not have enough, especially parking. Start planning way in advance. We're right now booking vendors for our September market and starting to book for tree season events as well. Social media is the way to go. Either jump on the train or get run over if you hate it, but it's so easy. It's the best way to go. We do also do some newspaper, not advertising. We've had newspapers reach out to us, and I think they're getting that from social media. And we've had news stations reaching out to us to do stories, and I'm pretty sure they're getting that from social media. If you have a Facebook page for your business and you're going to have an event, create an official event for that event within your page. You can make sure you're sharing everything through your personal page too. And the more activity you create on your pages, the more that it's going to show up in everybody else's feed, which is what you want. So that's all we have. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, or tell them thank you again. That was really awesome, Katy and Jesse. So now we're going to have question and answer time. You can direct your question towards all four of them. If you have a specific question for either group, you may do so. I think we've got about 15 to 17-ish minutes for questions, so ask away. I think we also have some Zoom questions as well. So I'll let you guys, maybe Emily, if you want to start, that'd be great.
on might be a good option. So it really, I think it originates with what theme I'm doing, but let's just say I want a nicer vase and I'm paying someone to come in. Like, I don't know if y'all remember, I had a pumpkin, and there was flowers in the pumpkin, and we had soaked flower foam in there, and I brought in a florist for that. And so I think that one cost about $50. I've been told that I'm, from other people, that it's too cheap from florists and whatnot, but I think it's just a learning curve. I mean, there have been times that I've made zero, and you mess up, and you just learn as you go. But I think it's just one of those things. Who can you get your wholesale flowers from, at what cost? And your first event might be a big bust, but it'll be fun, but you just learn as you go.
I have a few more. I'll just hurry and get them out of the way. Oh, okay, got it. Can you hear me? Okay. Do any of you have events? We had somebody ask about insurance, but do any of you have any events that require waivers from anybody that's coming on your farm?
I had my vendors sign a waiver.
Okay.
I've been to a lot of events as myself before we got our Christmas tree farm started, and we have a military base in Enid, and so what I've done is, military is pretty ironclad, so I took their vendor release form and I pretty much messed a few things around. But if you could afford a lawyer probably to help you with something like that and get some legal advice, I would say do it. I like to err on caution. It scares me a bit. So. Yeah,
and we have an overall policy for people to come to the farm. It's kind of a blanket thing that we have in place.
Okay. And you mentioned, y'all mentioned about the refunds, super easy through Eventbrite, but what about y'all? Does that program you use, is it make it easy for refunds?
Yeah, I wish I could just one-click thing, but I have to go in there and manually do it, but it prompts me to send an email with each one, so it's not too bad. I mean, like I've said, I'm technologically illiterate, and if I can do it, I think, literally anybody can do it, so
yeah,
they make it easy.
One thing I would say about Shopify, unfortunately, when you issue a refund, you've lost that transaction cost. So whatever percentage Shopify takes from the amount was paid, that's gone. So that comes out of your pocket. So when somebody cancels on you, they kind of make you lose money on their transaction.
Okay, I have two more, and then plenty of time. To the Wells family, do you charge vendor fees when you have vendors come out? And if so, how much?
Does that go? We do. So our vendor fee, it's for an outdoor 10 by 10 space, is $75. And last year it was $55. And again, I was just going by, I wanted people out there. I didn't know what to charge. And so I did ask some vendors, but this year we raised it because the traffic increased, and we had a lot more expenses to accommodate that many people, whereas I've still been told that that's too cheap, but I'm kind of by this one. But I'm digging my heels in this year at $75, so we'll see.
Okay, and both of you may have mentioned this, but when there's not an event happening, or it's not, you're harvesting Christmas trees or selling those on your farm, when you have the farm being open and invite people to come in and just kind of be at the farm, we had somebody ask, I think they felt like they were busy all the time, with just the duties on the farm, but what does that kind of look like at your farm? Do you have where the farm's just open and people can come?
Well, our gate is down currently because the highway's being worked on, and so people think it's open. So that's kind of a problem. We're definitely not open all the time. If we're going to be open, we definitely make it clear that we're open today. Like when COVID first happened, I said something, if you need to just get outside and just get some stress relief, come out to the farm today from 8 to 5. But we definitely have hours that are set.
It's the same for us. We have a gate, and so I think if we left it open, I think people would just come on in. So yeah, we have a specific event. Something is going on that we're open for. When we had all the snow a couple weeks ago, we just left the gate open the whole time and said, if you want to come take pictures for free, we kind of did a photography event, snow pics. And so we had people in and out. I mean, not a lot of people could get there, but I think there was one day that several people, before it got really bad, lots of people came out and did that. But yeah, a lot of people are surprised to find out that we live there. And so when we explain, like, this is where we live, this is our house, and they're like, oh, okay, it's not just like a public park. So I'm grateful that we have a gate, because I think people would just come in whenever they wanted if we didn't.
Awesome. If you have a question, I'll bring the mic to you. That way everyone can hear.
Hi, Neil Fisher, Old West Buffalo Company in Pawhuska. We just moved there. But when you get the movie rights for like a movie, is that just for one showing, or are you buying the rights for several? And then I have a follow-up comment about, we moved from Colorado and we've been running our attraction for a couple of years. Ticket Spice is so good. And the reason it is that you keep all the customer data. The company doesn't sell it. They don't put it into other lists. And you can also sell your merchandise when they buy tickets. So you might check into Ticket Spice. It's pretty new, and it doesn't have a monthly fee either. So
Okay.
That's just something we really like. The way they treat our customers' data. They don't sell it, and we get to manage it and build a newsletter list, which is pretty big and very easy. So back at the movie question.
It's good for one day only. You can have, I think, one cancellation. You can have a cancellation on it and reschedule it. It's through Swank is who we use most. It's a weird name, but they're out of Missouri, and they license. There's two companies that license movies for people to show. Swank's one of them. The other one I think is like MPP or something like that. But it's about $400 to $450 per showing, and it's only for one showing. It's a big deal. I researched. It's a big deal for outdoor movies. Indoor movies you can get away with, but outdoor movies are a whole different ball game, I guess, just because it's public.
So is inside your barn any different than being an outside movie?
You could probably, it would probably fall under a little bit different, but you still have to get rights to it.
Is it a different category probably?
Same company, different category, yeah. You can talk to those people though. They have all the information. They collect the money and I'm sure make a good profit off of it.
Other questions? Right here.
I kind of have an insurance question because I've had other clients. I'm an agriculture business coordinator. My name's Jonna Squires. And so when people go to do these agritourism businesses, who is your insurance? Rather than just adding an additional liability policy, are you getting a specific policy for these events?
Yeah, we do a specific policy, and you just got to be upfront with your insurance agent and tell them everything that you're going to be doing there. And there are specialty insurance companies out there. Like if you're in Christmas trees, there's a company called Kielsen that does a lot of the Christmas tree stuff, but they won't do the pumpkin patch. So it takes a little digging. And, for us, we have an insurance broker in Enid that we work with. We've been real honest with what we're doing and what we're going to do. And then he just goes around and gets quotes from a bunch of different places. And that's how we've been able to do it. But certain things are going to spike that cost. And petting zoo is one of them. If you're doing wagon rides, that might be extra. There's all kinds of things, but you can shop around and find something.
We do the
Jesse
same.
and Katy, do you guys want to touch on that?
We do that. We have a broker that shops for our insurance for us. We do the same thing though. We just let them know what we're doing and they can get us coverage. And a lot of times for one day events, it's not that expensive. So.
Yep. Let me bring the mic to you.
Are you going to answer for agritourism yet on insurance? Has anything happened over the past 2 years?
We will discuss that at a later date. This is not the time or place, but we can chat after. Do we have other questions about specific events, things that maybe you're interested on your farm? Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so for your flowers again, are you providing the base for your? They're not bringing their own. You're
Right.
providing the base as part of your fee for the
Right.
workshop.
Yeah. That would be a fun idea, bring your own vase, because, I mean, mason jars ever since COVID have been quite the beast to find. So, but honestly, I usually order through Dollar Tree. You can buy in bulk from their website, and I, can get pretty much anything through there, and it's cheap. So that's what I normally do.
I'm not a speaker, but being the agritourism coordinator, I've seen a few things. We've seen a couple of farms hosting flower events, and maybe people donate flower vases. If they're tired of them, you can go to Goodwill. You can say, hey, I'm hosting a flower event. Does anybody have any extra vases they're not using? And I know a couple of our farms have a stockpile of vases that they've just had donated to them. So that could be an option as well. Recycling.
Right. Those of you, out of the four of you, how many of you have an agricultural background? And for those that don't, you're very brave individuals to take on what you've taken on.
Yeah, I grew up on a farm west of Ralston in Osage County, so I have an agricultural background, but not niche agritourism kind of things. It was a traditional, a commodity, corn, soybean, wheat, that kind of thing. And then I drug my beautiful wife into all this.
I'm happy to be here.
I am a computer science major, and I work in that tower right there when I'm not on the farm. So, I work at Devon. I grew up on 10 acres, and I hated it when I was a kid. And I moved away and said, I'll never go back out to the country. I'm going to live in the city forever and never have to mow again. And now we own 12 acres, of which 2 is Christmas trees, and we have to mow around each one of them. So, but I love it, and going to do it as long as I can keep walking.
Katie, what's your background?
I farm cats and dogs, and that's it.
I think we have one more question on Zoom, and then we can take maybe one more.
Okay, the next question is, what do you all charge for photo sessions, and what do you feel like is fair if you have people come in to take photos?
I'm new at this one, so I usually, at first I made a deal with a photographer. If you'll come take pictures at my farm, I'll do it for free. And then just to get that established and get it out on social media. And this past year, I do, you can have a year pass to come out there, and it's, I think, $200. You can come anytime, bring any clients. But, that's our area. We're in a small town. It's 25,000 people, and there's a limit on what you can charge people. So
we worked with a photographer to set our prices. She doesn't use our farm because she has her own place, but we charge, it's a lot more than that. We charge $75 an hour, $200 for a half a day, and $350 for a day. And she recommended twice that. So
Are there any other questions? Yes, ma'am. This will be our last question.
I have, you talk about labeling, and you were selling jams and honeys and all that stuff. So do you have a in-house kitchen that you do your own, or someone does it and brings the jars to you, and you put your own label on this jar and sell it?
No, in the state of Oklahoma, you can't, the food cottage law, or canning has to be done in a professional kitchen. So we don't do that. So I actually use the House of Webster, and that's someone that can do private labeling for you, but there's lots of people that can do it in Oklahoma, but I just wanted a wide variety. I would love to have my own commercial kitchen one day, but like I said, I'm trying to keep him around, so.
So with that, do you give them your label? Do you give them your logo? Do they send the product to you and you put it on, or how does that work?
They really walk you through it. It's a great company to work with. I just send over whatever I want on that packaging. So I just send over our graphic label.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys. Let's give our speakers a big round of applause.